we've discussed over the last 2 weeks, anything new. So money for renovation. Maybe want to upgrade vehicle. You want to upgrade vehicle? Buy a brand new one? Okay, so maybe we just add car. Education, very important, especially for our children coming up now. So these are short, medium, long-term goals. So something that we want to do, but we're looking at money. How do we get the money for it? So there are a few ways we can get money for these things. Either you have the money saved already, so you've got savings, or you can borrow the money. So borrow. So we've got the banks for that. We've got bank, and some people have been known to use credit cards. Anyone think of any other ways you can make money?
You're not making money if you borrow.
Well, get money for these and other needs we have for the short, medium, and long term. Anyone can think of anything else? Now, today we want to focus on, based on questions we had from last week and previous week, we want to look at leverage. So, where you don't have the money saved, what do? You have the option to borrow, so you can borrow it. Other than borrow, what are the other options? To get a second job. Some people have gotten second jobs.
Yeah.
Second job. So start saving from the second job. I've mentioned a few times trade. Now we want trading. We want to bear in mind the topic leverage. So when you borrow, you're going to borrow with a view to obviously paying it back, and the percentage for borrowing, personal borrowing anyway, can be high. Anyone want to give me a percentage?
It varies from
It varies.
2%.
2% to
From 2%
29, 39, 49.
2% is
What do
if
they
you
call?
have a
What do they call
property.
these people?
Huh?
The
No.
loan shark.
No.
It's
what's
popular.
that? Yeah, I know. Yeah. What's the name of this? It's loan shark. Yeah, loan shark.
loan
Yeah,
shark.
but what there's one particular
There's
one.
one-
They
Yes.
loan, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Like 40-something%.
Yes, 49
Yeah,
point.
but generally you pay 2%, going back to what you said, 2% if you've got a home your creditor can take if you default. If you don't have a home, you're looking at maybe in the 30 percentage, so
Yeah.
let's go with 35, yeah? Second job, if you're able to do that, depends on the salary. How much do you think you can save maybe monthly towards maybe that property? Because a lot of people were interested in getting properties, starting on the property ladder, maybe for themselves or as a landlord. So how much do you think you can save a month with this? Second, because you've got a first job already, which hopefully will be taking care of the bills.
So 60 a month.
£2, 200.
50.
Yeah. So with trading, I did say, and full disclosure here, not FSA trained, but from experience and from information out there from the financial services, it's very possible to lose all your money in trading. You can lose everything, but it doesn't just end there. There are people, when you know what you're doing, you can make a lot of money. How much depends on how much you put in, so you can make a lot as well. And this is something that can cover the short, medium, and long term, because trading by nature can be anything from, I wouldn't recommend it, but a minute to an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, a day, to a week, to 3 months, at a time.
Yes.
A few years. Like my mentor, as I said, I think the first week, he's been trading a particular stock and he's been locking in profits for years. So if you find a good one, it doesn't make sense to sell it. So when you know what you're doing and you do not put in all your money, you put in a certain percentage, something that you're happy to risk, you do have the potential, provided you know what you're doing, to make a lot of money in the short term, which is important, where you have a loan shark after you need to pay them up. So you want to get their money to them, or even debt, proper debt that is not loan shark related, like council tax. Those people don't play. I was looking at, say we had £1,000 to invest. £1,000. You don't have to worry about your bills or your other needs are not in this £1,000. You just have it to spare. Be it you borrowed the money, be it you saved the money. Now, times 3%, it will give you yearly, like those of us that were interested in bonds, it will give you, say we had bonds up to 12% that I could find in the UK. So I started at 3% technically. Say you didn't find a bond you like, because there are materials to read when they send it out to you, you think, I'm not too sure about this company, and you find one that is really good, then they probably want to give you 3% on that. That was £30 a year. So for interest, let's see, interest accrued on that. Then I thought, okay, let me try 12%. I think 12% went up to, the information is on my blog post, and the calculators there as well, so you can play around with it yourself. I think when it went up to 12%, it was now 120 for a year. So that's 130, 120, depending on which thing you find. Then I thought, okay, let's try with trading, because I talked about my 188 pips, and this is not in isolation. Many times people trade, when you know what you're doing, you can really go up a few points in profit, be it a buy trade or a sell trade. And I said, okay, at 40%, and that now took us up to £400. So ideally, for a year, you have £1,000, hard-earned money, of course, because this money is something you've worked very hard for. Which one would you prefer to get at the end of the year? £30 on top of your money, 120, or £400?
£400.
Yeah, it makes sense to want to get £400 unless you have nothing to do with money. So this is where trading comes in, because as I said again, I couldn't find any service in the UK that offer bonds that would give 40%. I checked and checked, I did my research, and then when I did speak to somebody, he insisted that 12% was the best they could give, and they're the best in the market. So I thought, oh, you know what? It's not that I'm ruling out bonds, but for me personally, trading still works for me. It wants a lot more for your money. You want your money to work for you. Then, unless someone has found something else, trading is what I found works for people, for the short term, the medium term, and the long term.